delighted to welcome our speakers tonight. Jeremy's based in Bath and Andrew in the Peak District. They're very well known furniture makers. Andrew set up his own workshop in 1980. Jeremy established a workshop in 1973, and he's the organiser of the Alan Peters Furniture Award, Andrew being one of the judges, I think I'm right to say, yes. Which encourages new talent. And having spoken to them a little earlier on, I think the encouragement of new talent is something which is at the forefront of both their concerns.
If somebody came to me, as often happens, and only wants a simple table, but wants it a specific size, they can't find anything in a shop that'll do the job, then that instantly makes it value for money. And if we can then further personalise it, maybe through some, and it doesn't have to be anything too outrageous, it might be just some detailed jointing or some chamfering which lifts it beyond the ordinary, or we may be able to pick up an architectural detail in the room or some other decorative theme which will personalise that to that client.
And by not copying ideas of the past, but putting out there my own original ideas, that has convinced me that if you can dream up a desirable piece of furniture and evolve cost-effective ways of producing it, there's nothing more satisfying than knowing it can live in more than just one home.
Working with clients on new jobs is constantly stimulating and interesting. It never gets boring. Every job's new and different and fresh. But who are these people? What sort of people buying my work? They're overwhelmingly well-educated professional people. I tend not to get celebrities or rock stars because my work's not flamboyant enough.
I just picked out 2 or 3 examples of other furniture makers whose work I certainly connect with. In fact, it was in the mid-1970s that David Colwell paid me a visit on his way to setting up his steam bending workshops in Wales, because I was producing my rocking chairs, which were batch produced, and they were a dirty word in craft circles. But this is a chair from his O range, O coming from the huge rivets that he uses. Very clever.
And one thing I was quite adamant about was not making fake antiques. And once or twice people would ask me to distress a piece of furniture. I always used to say, well, if you've got children, they'll ruin it quick enough.
But what I got to look at was methodology. It's the one thing that we don't really look at. We use tradition default. We're still making things the way we used to. But actually, there are other ways to make furniture. We don't have to go the traditional route. So I learned a lot about methodology. I also worked in a factory for a short period.
Every job is a prototype, and we have to make jigs and formers which may never be used again. And that's all the hidden costs which has to be absorbed in the piece. And then the thorny question is how much will a client pay? I always keep a record of everything I've ever made, and I realised looking at a previous piece I could reduce the price by making small changes to the work. Rather than using cedar of Lebanon for the drawer bottoms, I used pre-veneered ply, and it just had a plain MDF back.
If you make the traditional furniture piece, you need a lot of floor acreage and machines, and just to get started today is a lot of money. But on the other hand, the market is established and you'll get higher prices. The 2 biggest Achilles heels are you've got to produce a lot to make a profit, but then on the other hand, if your overheads are lower, then it may make sense, and marketing, and I would say the way forward is online.